All right, good day, people. It's your boy, Mr. Ree. I'm joined by Danny, Matt, and Calvin. And we just thought it's a good time. Today marks the 15th anniversary of Batman Begins, the seminal Nolan superhero movie, as it's described, what kick-started a whole new subgenre. But I was talking to Matt the other day, and we were discussing about how it somehow seems like it's underrated, and people don't really value its impact it had. And I happened to mention it to Calvin, who thought that it was, I don't know, overhyped, overrated itself. So I thought, you know what, let's bring it to the people. I want to hear you guys' points, what you think of it. I mean, now, in terms of Batman and Bruce Wayne performances, which film or the trilogy do you think had the better depiction of Batman and Bruce Wayne? Open floor.
I'll start in support of Begins. I feel Batman Begins was a brilliant origin story. I felt that it perfectly encapsulated the person he was, the whole theme of fear and having to overcome fear, and making Bruce Wayne the man he was, ultimately transitioning to becoming the Batman. And I think Batman Begins was the best depiction of Bruce Wayne, definitely, because it showed him in his formative years and how he became the person he is. Whether or not it was the best depiction of Batman across the trilogy, that probably goes to The Dark Knight, but Batman Begins, Bruce Wayne for sure for me. Yeah, I feel that whether or not we're talking comic book accurate and how accurate it was to comic book animated series and whatever, but I felt he definitely done a good job embodying the character of Bruce Wayne, and the duality between him and Batman. He showed kind of both parts well.
Okay.
I think Batman Begins has by far the best character arc for Bruce Wayne. The other two are sort of static fixed points. We know where he's at in Dark Knight. He's at peak Batman in Dark Knight. I love Dark Knight Rises because he's this broken old man, but again, that's the end of the journey. I really like the arc and the journey he goes on in Batman Begins.
Batman Begins for me, forgettable. Simple as that. It was forgettable. I had to re-watch it quite recently just to remember really what went on. Obviously, the other two, it takes the limelight away from the first one. I totally get that, but honestly, forgettable. Wasn't a great movie for me.
No redeeming at all for you, Ra's al Ghul.
Nah, you know what? I will say his depiction of Bruce Wayne. Yep, get it, understood it. Didn't see nothing new, to be totally honest with you. Ra's al Ghul, once again, forgettable, guys. Sorry, Matt. Forgettable.
What's it called again? Ming. Is it Ming from Avengers? From Iron Man?
Yeah,
2,
yeah. They pulled that. I'm sorry, it wasn't.
It's not him. It's
it wasn't. It wasn't. To me, very forgettable. I'm not in it. Not in it at all.
So are you saying that the twist, you honestly thought when Ken Watanabe, who was the original Ra's al Ghul, all of you, when watching it for the first time, you didn't actually fall for it? You knew it was predictable.
Honestly, Matt, I didn't. Honestly,
yeah, he's too smart. Obviously, he's better than us.
So how can you knock it then? How can you knock it? If the okadoke, if the diversion had the desired effect, then how can you really criticize it?
The diversion, it didn't make any sense, man. It should have been Ken Watanabe. Simple as that. It's. I get why they did the diversion. I get it. I understand where he was going and whatnot. Not necessarily criticizing, but yes, I am criticizing it. It just, to me, as I said, it was very forgettable. When The Dark Knight came out, I watched it again because, like I said, I really didn't remember what happened to it, and then I forgot it straight away. It just didn't have a buzz for me. Maybe I'm looking for something a bit more from my origin movies, but then I'd say the same thing about Captain America. His first one was rubbish, as far as I'm concerned.
Ooh.
But the other two, and I know we'll get onto that another time. But once again, we'll get on that another time. But it was forgettable for me. So
I'm a DC man, but I'm very protective of Captain America. Everybody knows.
All right, so is it? I saw Dan's face kind of, get a little bit whoa to that one. When we're talking about origin films, full stop, then Cal, because you've obviously mentioned two origin films which you deemed forgettable in Batman Begins and the first Avenger. Is there any origin film you feel done it right?
Oh,
Oh,
Go on,
sorry.
what you got?
I give you a buzzer.
I
Make a noise.
Iron Man 1.
Yes.
Agreed.
You know why?
I enjoyed it.
I didn't grow up with anything Marvel, and obviously Marvel were the enemy. And I watched. I know it's a big part of it is Robert Downey Jr. But I watched Iron Man 1, and I actually felt it drew me in to the. Cause I didn't know enough about him. It showed me how he became who he was, and it's like, okay, not just another millionaire playboy. That drew me into the Marvel universe, and as a DC man, that was a big deal to me to actually say, you know what, actually, I can actually rock with them, sort of thing. They are not the enemy. So
Do you not think it's different though, because Bruce Wayne was never enjoying his life. He lived a life of trauma and was an intensely miserable person. Tony Stark genuinely was a playboy. He was living up with his models and his yachts and his cars. Bruce Wayne may have had that lifestyle, but really he's all dark and twisty inside.
And he's still dark and twisty. So he went from dark and twisty.
Yeah, it only gets worse.
Dark and twisty. But saying that, as much as I'm trashing Batman Begins, what I would say in regards to comparing him to Iron Man's origin story, could it be that we knew to a point what to expect from Batman Begins? We all know the Bruce Wayne story. It's been done a million times over, whereas Iron Man, it was new, so we were more invested in that. We didn't know what his origin story was. So yeah, as you said, we were more invested in that, which is why that could shine out more in our head than Batman Begins. As much as I'm trusting it, I got a
very good point.
We can move on to point 2. Villains from the trilogy. Ra's al Ghul in Begins, Joker in Dark Knight, and Bane in Dark Knight Rises. Who had the best villain out of the trilogy?
Bane. Love my Bane. Love my Bane. I love my Bane. I'm a massive Tom Hardy fan.
I'm with you.
I'm a Tom Hardy fan. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Joker was great. Joker gets all the praise, rightfully so. But I personally think Bane doesn't get the praise that he deserves. Tremendous character, played excellently. The way he died, rubbish. However,
way that rubbish. But for such a small man, Tom Hardy's a small dude, sort of thing. And when you look at the camera work, we're going to call it, it's like just his dominance that he managed to portray on scene.
Yeah.
When he walked up on the
Listen,
scene,
he started off my size, worked out, and ended up Matt's size. I mean, come on. That's
Tom
dedication, man.
Tom Hardy is 5'9". He actually had to wear platforms during the filming to have him imposing over Christian Bale, who's 6+. I'm going to be very controversial.
Go on.
I honestly was not blown away by Heath Ledger's Joker performance. And when we're talking about villains, we also, and this is my problem with Dark Knight, which we're getting into in another video. But when we talk about villains, Two-Face was a villain also. Two-Face's character arc and how he switched was terrible. It didn't explore any of the backstory to losing his fiance to then becoming a psychopath. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was an illogical reach for me. Heath Ledger, obviously, the performance was good. I feel like it didn't show a level of range that should have the role revered as one of the greatest ever. He was a psychopath. He was psychotic. He was nonsensical. When he was telling the stories of how he got his scars at 2 different points, they were both different stories. It was complete chaos, which embodies the Joker. But I feel that to get a level of respect for a role in which you perform, there has to be a range of emotions. And for me, his emotion was just strictly set in the absolutely crazy mode, to the point where I don't feel it should be as revered as it was. I'm with Calvin in that I actually really like Bane's performance. From reading the comics, Nightfall, when Bane actually broke Batman, it was a really good throwback to that. The voice was obviously a bit off, but I actually really enjoyed Tom Hardy's depiction of Bane, so he's my favorite villain personally.
So just carrying on from what you said, Matt, in regards to the Joker, to a point I do agree with you. What I believe really pushed the performance in everybody's mind was the fact that when he was first mentioned as being the Joker, there was a lot of backlash.
Yes.
I think, yes, I think a lot of people were surprised, pleasantly surprised, about the performance that he gave. So I think that pushed it even further in people's mind, possibly better than the performance itself was. Just the fact that he proved the majority of people wrong because of the negative backlash that he got initially.
But so villain, Bane. Nobody for Raz.
I think the Joker's the best villain, but I think it's a great performance, and I really appreciate him being a pure agent of chaos. I appreciate the constant telling of false stories, so you never quite know who he is or what he's about, and it's intentional. It's an act that he's doing to scare people. I love that. I do actually think Ra's al Ghul's really interesting. I like the ideology he has of society being a sickness that he wants to bring down. It's something that actually has now come up in loads of other superhero films. It's the same thing it's the same idea Thanos has. He wants to kill half society because we've gone too far and ruined everything. It's the same theology they use for the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. It comes up time and time again, these sort of extreme left-wing heroes that want to destroy capitalism. So I do actually think it's really interesting, but no, he's not the best.
Okay. So, all right, cool. So you're still sitting with Joker, Heath Ledger, Joker as the best of the trilogy, and the rest of us are on Bane. Cool. All right.
When Heath Ledger won the Best Supporting Actor, he was up against Josh Brolin for Milk, Robert Downey Jr. for Tropic Thunder, Philip Seymour Hoffman for Doubts, and Michael Shannon for Revolutionary Road. I'm not sure how many of you have seen the others. Do you feel that he deserved? Daniel, our resident all film watcher expert.
I will say I think it was a weak year for that category. No, I think it was a worthy nomination, and I can accept the win. Yeah, it was definitely a year in which they were trying new things. I mean, they nominated Robert Downey Jr. Which is great. It's hilarious, but it's pretty out there for an acting nomination.
I hear that.
Okay.
Would he have won if he hadn't died?
Oh, and this is where we kind of get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not too sure about that.
Posthumously, and obviously, The Dark Knight, as a film overall, was the reason why they expanded the Oscars to 10. Sorry, the best movie, best picture, Oscar to 10 films, because of that performance and the whole film overall. They felt that only having 5 excluded some great films. So it's definitely a trendsetter in that sense. So,
quick question in regard to The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight movie, obviously, most people will say that is the best of the trilogy. Is the movie itself the best of the trilogy, or is it just because people are in awe about the Joker's performance?
I don't think it's that great a film, and I know I'm in the minority here, so I'll let those who want to.
Well, I agree with you. I think that The Dark Knight Rises is the best of the trilogy, personally.
Okay, I massively disagree with you there, yeah, I was with you till that point. But
whoa, okay,
yeah.
All right. If I was gonna go, I'd say I probably enjoyed Dark Knight Rises more. The opening scene when he just hijacks that plane and obviously takes the guy down and his lines in it, that would be painful. Yeah, it's painful for you. Just his lines.
Yeah, some classic one-liners.
You think you are the Knight? That was me. You were merely born. Yeah, it's like I was born into the darkness. I just literally.
Born in the darkness.
Yeah, born in the darkness.
You merely adopted the darkness.
Yeah.
Born in it, raised in it.
I just think that exactly classic. He would have got a lot more props for that, if not for the Dark Knight before with Heath Ledger. I think it was definitely underrated, and yeah, they had problems with the voice and stuff like that. But if you're gonna say enjoyment-wise, I'll put Batman Dark Knight Rises above it. And then on the other hand, with Batman Begins, I was excited at the time to see a proper filmmaker make a Batman film. So I was really, really excited. But on retrospect, I'm with Calvin, where again it goes at the bottom of my list. So actually,
All right.
my man, I actually go Dark Knight Rises, then Dark Knight, and then Batman Begins. I think.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
Agreed.
Just
Agreed.
just looking at the opening set pieces, which you touched upon, Meeks, with the whole kind of plane set piece at the beginning, or the Joker bank robbing scene.
Okay,
Favorites?
now the Joker bank robbing scene. Yeah.
Mm.
Again, don't get me wrong. I was literally losing my mind when at that point. I was thought, I almost wet myself. I was like a kid. I was like, oh God, this is so cool. But again, it's a case of, it's a bit of the Robert Downey Jr.'s about it, where if you had a different actor that was doing that, would it have been as good? If it wasn't Heath Ledger playing the Joker in that part, the things he did it work so well and play so well because it was Heath Ledger in that part? So what was actually going on? Was it actually that amazing? It's a bank robbery where one villain killed another villain and took the money. That was it.
Anybody could have played that part,
behind it, though, the way in which he played everyone and killed everyone.
But we see
no,
that.
I hear that. But everybody could have played that part, and it would have been exactly the same. Whereas the Dark Knight Rises,
you've got a plane. They drop another plane, get in a train, and they hijack the plane in mid-air and took his blood out. Like, I was watching it thinking, wow, this felt like a big set piece. Whereas that was a bank robbery with a smart mouth guy. Again, he put someone else as Iron Man. Would it work if it wasn't Robert Downey Jr.? I don't know. I think he made that role, and I think Heath Ledger made that role something special in that film where it could have been just average. So was the set piece itself, the bank robbery, that spectacular, really? I've seen better heists in other films, realistically, as a setup.
When we're not generally just talking about spectacular, because obviously as a set piece, as a visual aspect, the plain one wins hands down. But in terms of a character introduction, introducing a character's mindset, introducing the chaos and psychology of the Joker, in which he's able to assemble a crew and then have them all taken out one by one, whilst thinking that they were all in it together. I feel just perfectly introduced him as a character and kind of set the tone for the person that we were kind of dealing with. Bane was great too, don't get me wrong, but yeah.
If I take off the
mask, but listen, hold on, but listen,
would it be painful? Yes, for you.
Yeah. It's not even that. Listen, Bane, when they were transferring over to the other plane, one of Bane's guys were ready to leave as well. Bane said, "No, you stay here."
Yeah,
he stayed. he stayed.
Yeah, that was
standard. You know what I mean? That was kind of that in itself. Yeah, that in itself shows the power. You know what I mean? You stay here. You're going to die for the cause. No argument said. But yeah, we can.
Okay, all right. Best. So which one told a better story? So let's do this one quickly. Which one told a better story? Begins, Dark Knight, or Dark Knight Rises? Which story was better?
I think Begins has the best journey, as I established earlier. I think The Dark Knight actually has the best writing of the films. It's got some great scenes, some great conversations. I really love the sort of recurring themes about vigilantism versus anarchy. Great little moments and conversations. Best story, Dark Knight Rises is just a really satisfying ending, isn't it? Finally seeing all this chaos come to fruition and Gotham fall apart is really exciting. I mean, you can't really choose. I think the best writing story is Dark Knight, but they're all good.
For me, it's Dark Knight Rises. He was literally broken at the beginning of the movie.
I mean, Bane retired Batman.
No, literally, yeah.
And coming back from it, in Rises, again. So yeah, I'm gonna go definitely stick with Rises. I think anybody can fall. Getting back up is the real work. I think you obviously training.
All right, Alfred.
Yes, my lady. Okay. Speaking of Alfred, supporting cast. So we had Alfred all the way through, so we're not going to mention Alfred, but supporting cast, Batman Begins, we had Rachel. Was Rachel in Batman Begins? Was she in?
Yeah, she was the Katie
two different actresses.
Two different actresses.
Maggie Gyllenhaal took over after Katie Holmes. first one.
which I think was a good
Very good
change.
casting. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no chemistry there whatsoever.
Yeah. Let me see who else. Was there any? Who else? So villain wise, well,
Cillian Murphy, Scarecrow.
I love Cillian Murphy. I think he
Cillian
was
Murphy.
massively underused.
Underused.
Yeah,
Underused.
agreed.
He's a ridiculously talented actor. I went to see him in a play last year, and there's a scene where he like eats a dead bird on stage. And he spat it out and it hit me in the chest. It was one of the greatest moments of my life.
Okay. Did you keep it? Do you still have it?
I really wanted to, but I put it back. But yeah, I'm sad he didn't have a bigger role. I think he's really impressive.
He is. I agree.
Even his Scarecrow, this is how far I'll take it. That if I can speak to Matt Reeves, I'll tell Matt Reeves to actually bring back that Scarecrow, because I think he was massively underused, and I think he could have been done. So I think he could have done more than Joker, to be honest with you. I just think in terms of he set up and he actually had a go. I liked Scarecrow. I think
I do love that weapon, like making people terrified and living their worst fears is really cool, and gives you so much range for what you can do with it.
Be anything.
Yes. The fear toxin was an absolutely brilliant thing, and we have precedent. J.K. Simmons brought back as J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man. I would honestly love to see Cillian Murphy reprised in the role. As you said, the fear toxin gas thing is such a brilliant thing, and I felt was one of the things that made Batman Begins such a good film in terms of, obviously the whole thing was around fear and overcoming fear and going through to that. But yeah, he was brilliant. Loved his little cameo in Dark Knight Rises also, which was, like a supporting cast from that. Harvey Dent, Aaron Eckhart. Again, I've already gone on record with I feel he was a good Harvey Dent to begin with. The Two-Face transition wasn't believable for me.
I agree. I agree.
And I'm not really sure who else is supporting.
What about Selena Kyle?
Anne Hathaway. Yeah, she's pretty great.
I think she's quite good. I enjoyed her performance. I enjoyed the performance
as well. Again,
to be fair though, that was one of my problems with the film. I didn't find her character believable. I felt she was good in the role. Obviously, Batman Returns, we had the benefit of an origin story. Here, she just kind of turned up. Not to say you kind of need it, because Heath Ledger just turning up, no backstory, made his role that much better. For Selena Kyle, though, I'm not really too sure. It was really believable for me for her to be in the trenches and fighting with kind of zero really backstory and understanding how she kind of got there. It felt a bit rushed. It felt a bit kind of Spider-Man 3 when they just tried to throw everyone in and kind of appease a lot of audiences, and like they throw in the Venom story and the Sandman and just everything. Like, I felt her inclusion wasn't really necessary. It was good to kind of give Bruce Wayne a send-off at the end and have him kind of settled down, but her character wasn't believable. But at least it wasn't Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Hey,
we can just pretend that didn't happen.
Yes. What?
Listen, I can't be negative about Halle Berry at all.
You know what, Calvin? You're from my school. We don't talk bad about Halle Berry. We just avoid the film. Just don't talk about it.
It's not about the movie. It's just about
They never made one. It never existed. We will have to talk about that in the worst films ever video that we will do at some point. But until then, we'll pretend it doesn't exist.
But you know, actually,
unmentioned in an absolutely stacked cast. Obviously, you've got Gary Oldman, Jim Gordon, who is, other than Alfred, probably the heart and soul of the films. Like he's such a consistently good, strong moral compass. I think he does a great job.
Fantastic, brilliant.
And he's usually a villain as well, so it's nice to see him being wholesome. Nolan originally wanted to cast him as Ra's al Ghul, which
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
That'd be a very
interesting.
Good guy as a second piece.
Very interesting dynamic. And Lucius Fox, the narrator himself.
Yes.
Now,
Morgan Freeman, who always looked 82 years old from 12 years old.
No one knows how old he is.
He's timeless.
He's timeless.
He is God.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Bruce Wayne.
Enjoyable.
Okay, enjoyable.
Come on, Matt, be honest. Rises.
I might actually say Rises. It wasn't the best film. Batman Begins obviously had to tell time to tell the origin story. There was a lot of character focus. We're just talking about enjoyable and action. Rises, all of the pieces were already in place to the point where we kind of had action from the beginning. And yeah, there was some nice set pieces in it. So yeah, I'd probably go Dark Knight Rises. Most enjoyable, but worst of the trio.
Oh, you had to put that one in, innit?
Had to. I'm sorry.
Calvin?
Dark Knight Rises, most enjoyable. Also my favourite out of the trilogy. Just exciting from beginning to the end. Loved the way it ended as well. Satisfying ending for me personally. Yeah, Rises all the way.
Okay, just to flip things on its head.
Hold on, Dan, have you thought of your answer yet? Like
I think the Dark Knight's the most enjoyable. There we go.
You know,
Dark Knight is the best film of all three. Question in conclusion.
Okay, the original question again was: is Batman Begins underrated classic or the weakest of the bunch?
Underrated classic. It's better than the Dark Knight Rises.
And Calvin, you stick with your weakest of the bunch?
Weakest of the bunch, yeah.
Danielle?
I don't think it's either. I think it is exactly where it should be in the trilogy. It's not underrated. Everyone knows it's pretty good. It is pretty good. Is it the weakest of the bunch? Maybe by a smidge, but it's still excellent.
Weakest of the bunch.
I would say it's underrated in a sense of I believe it stands shoulder to shoulder with The Dark Knight as a film in and of itself. I feel that The Dark Knight having this monopoly on it's the best film, and if you dare question it, it's sacrilege to do so because of Heath Ledger's performance. I don't really buy into that. So I feel it's underrated in terms of it's equally as good as The Dark Knight. But yeah, it is a highly regarded film. I don't think there's anyone out there who feels the film is bad or terrible or average. It's an above average film. But yeah, it is really as good as it's as good as The Dark Knight, in my opinion. Dark Knight Rises is by far the worst of the trilogy.
Ooh, by far, we had to go
Sorry,
there.
Cal. Sorry.
I think, we're never going to come to an agreement about this, are we?
We're not. No.
How many hours have you got to argue?
No, what we're going to do, we're going to throw it out there to you, the people. Let you decide. That was Bane, by the way, in case anybody missed it. We will give it to you, the people.
I have a question. For you, the people of the internet.
All right, well, guys, thank you very much for joining us today. So from Calvin, Danny, and Matt, and myself, thanks, guys, for joining us. And we'll see you.